Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about the massive Game Freak data leak. And I think we're going to be talking about this one on and off for the next while here, because this leak just keeps on producing very interesting news. I mean, we talked about it the other day when it turned out that some Pokemon games had their source code leaked. And we're talking about it today, where it seems that Game Freak has some very interesting things that were kind of hidden behind closed doors. Now, for reference, all of this information is in the public domain, and if you're curious about anything I talk about in my video, the link will be in the description below right at the bottom. My news is open source, and I don't hide my sources. Anyways, if you head on over to x.com and type in Game Freak and take a look at some of those top tweets, there's some interesting information and there's some highly controversial information. One of the pieces of interesting information is right here. It appears at some point they're trying to canonize Missing Number, or Missing Go. If you are familiar with this Pokemon, or this glitch rather, it occurred in the red and blue versions of the game, and I think possibly yellow. Now, as for some of the more controversial stuff, I would say that this is a very light take on some of the material that was discovered. So this person says Nintendo had lore written going in depth on human-Pokemon relationships. And again, this is a very light take. And I would argue that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's even more controversial stuff, for example, the character design of Skyla, and also some other stories that may raise a few eyebrows. And these eyebrows that are being raised, well, it seems a lot of people are raising them. And this person here says, I can never look at Pokemon the same way again, putting the freak in Game Freak. Like, huh. Now, I'm not getting into the details of absolutely everything here, but I will say that this, to me, seems like it may have an impact, a major negative impact on the Pokemon company. I mean, if parents find out what their children are playing and the stories behind what they're playing are based on, ooh, that is not good. I'm assuming this may be the end of Pokemon for some people. Who knows though, maybe this stuff will be brushed under the rug and not affect Pokemon at all, but right now Pokemon is being talked about quite a bit on social media, especially over here on x.com. And on a side note here, it appears that Quinty was made for the Super Famicom, and this was discovered also as part of the leak. For those who may not be aware, Quinty stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, and it was also known as Mendel's Palace. It was a puzzle game made in 1989 for the NES, and it appears there was a Super Famicom port made, but never released. And it's also worth pointing out I haven't seen any controversial information regarding the backstory for Quinty. But let me know your thoughts about this whole leak in the comments below, and let me know your thoughts about things you predict will also be discovered. Next up, we're talking about Nintendo Switch emulation with Sudachi. Now, for those who may not remember, Sudachi is a continuation of Yuzu, and it appears that Sudachi is now dead. And it was dead previous because Nintendo DMCA'd the project, and then it came back to life. And now Jared, who is also known as Antique, who is the person behind Sudachi, he is the one who is killing this project. So here's the note from Antique. Sudachi is ending soon. Sudachi was a fun thing to work on, adding support for applets, more games, and improving accuracy where it was lacking. But Nintendo Switch emulation and the community surrounding it, not everyone, are making it a very unsafe and unpleasant environment. Between the 1,000 plus forks that exist providing no benefits, the accusations, the immature and predatory nature of a lot of leaders, it is just not worth hanging around it anymore. I'll have a final version for all platforms soon, but then that is it for me. Now, over on Reddit Emulation on Android, Antique clarifies some of the statements. He says, for those wondering about the unsafe, unpleasant, predatory mentions, they are not directed at those using my fork, as for the most part, users and the general community have been very nice. And I'd like to thank you all for that. My issue is with the people behind the other forks and some users of those forks who blindly follow, ready with pitchforks. So with Sudachi dying out, it appears that the only Switch emulator left is Strato, which has not released just yet. The Switch emulation scene, in my opinion, is all but dead at this point. Strato is the last hope, but who knows what's going to happen with that one given Nintendo's track record. Now, on a quick side note, although there's probably not going to be a whole lot more significant advancement in the Switch emulation scene, at least not for a while, forks of Yuzu and Ryujinx still exist out there in the wild. I would argue some are malicious and some aren't. but I would say those emulators play a vast majority of Switch games out there. Yes, there are still issues and bugs and all of that, but at the same time, by the time Nintendo actually took them down, I would say they're in a pretty good spot for Switch emulation. Next up here, we're talking about NES games being ported to the SNES. Now, we've talked about some of these in the past. Infidelity, for example, is one person who has ported a handful of games from the NES to the SNES. And one of the big questions that's often asked is, what's the benefit of porting a game from the NES to the SNES? If you can play it on the NES, why just play the exact same game on the SNES? And now this next tweet will probably show you exactly why. So Rumble Minzy here, I might have mispronounced that one, let me know if I did in the comments below. They ported Kid Icarus from the NES to the SNES, and then they utilized that port to utilize the power of the SNES and create some additional stuff here. I mean, take a look at the backgrounds for this game. They look fantastic. In my opinion, this is just scratching the surface of some of the benefits that can be had from a game being ported from one system to another. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below, and let me know your thoughts about the background here in the comments below. Next up here, we're talking about Steam, and if you've purchased a game lately or gone to purchase a game lately, it appears that Steam has made some changes to when you purchase something from the shopping cart. Now, I'm not certain if this is being rolled out worldwide or just in specific areas, but I'm in Canada, and this is right on the Canadian storefront. In fact, this is my storefront. So Steam now says you're purchasing a license and not a copy of the game. They say right here, a purchase of a digital product grants a license for the product on Steam. Now, it might not be much, and I think a lot of people will overlook it, but at the same time, at least they're telling people you're purchasing a license as opposed to purchasing a copy of the game. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. And for reference, I have not picked up Dragon Ball Sparking Zero yet because it's almost $100. I'm going to be waiting for a sale on that one. The game looks amazing, but at the same time, I can't stomach almost paying $100 for a game, and that's just the base game. And speaking about Steam, next up here, we're talking about Halls of Torment. And if you're interested in this game and have never played it before, it's a very interesting game. It's very well received. It's got an overwhelmingly positive review score on Steam with over 20,000 reviews. Anyways, I'm giving away one key to one lucky person on this video. Now, to enter this giveaway is really simple and straightforward. All you have to do is send an email to giveaway@mrsujano.com with a screenshot of this game in your wish list. That's literally it. I'll pick one person at complete random in a couple of weeks or so good luck. Next up, we're talking about TUXEDO computers, and TUXEDO has just unveiled a brand new laptop that's meant to replace a high-end desktop. And this one is Linux purpose-built. So this one is called the Stellaris 16 Gen 6, and they say it's the best balance of performance, fan noise, and portability. The TUXEDO Stellaris 16 strikes the golden mean between portable dimensions and cooling capacity for either fastest high-end hardware, on par with upper-class desktop PCs, or a quieter fan noise at very high working and gaming performance. And it features an i9-14900HX and a GeForce RTX 4090. For the screen on this one, it's 2560 by 1600, and the refresh rate is 240 Hz. It appears they're not messing around with this one. And the price isn't being messed around with either. This is coming in at €1663, and that's just for the base version, which does not include the 4090. So for reference here, let's just bump this up to the 4090, and the price jumps up to €3007. That is quite a bit for this laptop, and that only contains 500 gigs of storage and 16 gigs of RAM. I mean, if I bump that up to, I don't know, 64 gigs and let's say 2 terabytes of storage here, we're looking at €3,200. The cheapest I can get this thing down to is €1588, and that's by completely removing the storage and removing Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And to me, that's a very hard pill to swallow. I mean, I'm assuming this thing is a performance beast and will blow a lot of laptops out of the water. But at the same time here, I mean, that is a hefty price to pay. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. But moving on, and next up we're talking about Steam. And if you're a fan of Steam and a fan of demos, you may be a fan of this news here. Steam has just launched its next Fest, and it's between now October 14th and October 21st. and there's been some brand new demos that have been released as a part of Next Fest. If you are curious about this one, I do recommend checking it out, browsing through the games and trying some demos. I mean, free is the best price here, and who knows, maybe you'll find your next favorite game. And on a side note, if you've got a game in here that you think other people will enjoy, let me know in the comments below and maybe tell other people to check it out as well, because there are quite a few here and I don't think everybody is going to get to every single game. And who knows, maybe there are some hidden gems. And speaking about possibly finding your next favorite game, next up here we're talking about the 2024 N64brew Game Jam, which has just been announced. Now this is for N64 homebrew games, and it's also for charity. It occurs between October 13th and December 13th, and the theme is to be announced on October 18th. Now there has been no charity picked out just yet. That's the winner's job here. The winner will dictate which charity the funds go to. If you are curious about this one and wanted to become a part of it, they do have a Discord server listed in the description of that video, so I do recommend checking it out. And I'm very curious to see what N64 homebrew games are produced as a result of this. And speaking about producing stuff, next up here we're talking about a brand new type of controller that's about to hit Kickstarter. This one is called the PocketPlay, and now from my understanding it's just for iPhone, but maybe Android in the future here. But at the same time, I think this is highly innovative. It's an actual controller here that pairs to the phone and has tactile buttons, but the whole thing also acts as a case. I mean, look how quickly this switches from game mode to phone mode, and the integrity of the case is still there. There's even vents on the back of this case to help out airflow. Is this going to be the best controller out there? Absolutely not. But is it going to be the most convenient and portable controller out there? Possibly. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. The Kickstarter is not live just yet, but I'm assuming if you've got an iPhone, this may be of interest to you. A few facts about this one is it's going to be about 4 millimeters thick. It never needs charging because it is powered by USB-C. And it does have real buttons and tactile switches, and pricing for this one to me seems reasonable. They say metal here for $70 versus plastic $60. Now, I'm not certain if that's going to survive to the end of the project here, but at the same time, this seems very promising. And speaking about stuff that hasn't launched yet, last up here, we're talking about Resident Evil 9. And Resident Evil 9 has appeared on Metacritic, and a lot of people are speculating that Capcom is soon to announce this game. Unfortunately, I've got no more details for you on that one, but I'm assuming this won't be on PS4 and just on PS5 here. Let me know your thoughts about Resident Evil 9 in the comments below. Are you looking forward to it? Are you excited about it? Or do you not care? But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and the legendary one fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. It's Canadian Thanksgiving, and while I'm thankful for the one fluff here, I'm thankful for Mrs. Sujano, and I'm thankful for all of you. Thanks for stopping by and watching my video. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos, don't tempt fate, save your state.